Hey guys, so I watched this really interesting movie that I believe just came out, or it's relatively new, called The Map of the Tiny Perfect Things. It's a Groundhog Day type film, but it's actually not. Um, Groundhog Day, they use this a lot of like you have to keep reliving the same day concept, but the way that this film utilizes that is it leverages that as a framing device for the messages and the lessons that they're trying to show us and that they want us to learn. And that's very unique. Now there is some really cool aspects to that, and there's some problems that arise when that kind of thing happens. Let's start out with our leads as well as the ensemble cast. Catherine, who plays Margaret, yeah, I know she's an up and coming actress. She's going to be playing Casey Lang in the upcoming Ant-Man film. She was in Blockers. She does a really good job. She like she I think she hasn't gotten her like really insane role yet. That's like going to show if she can be like a Samara Weaving type of like next generation actress, who's in my opinion one of the best new generation actresses. She does a solid job. She's always an asset to the film, in my opinion. I haven't really seen her do something kind of weak. This film is no exception. Actually, I think it does a good job of letting her kind of develop a character as opposed to just like move through the plot the way she usually does. I think she got to like flesh out a character because there isn't that much plot in this film. Kyle, who plays Mark, I don't think I've ever seen that actor before. You guys can tell me if you've seen him in something. I liked his role. It was very minimalistic, very grounded, and I think it worked because it's supposed to be an authentic experience. Like this really weird, implausible thing that could ever happen was just kind of like a plot device of like a coming of age story of a guy, and I think he did a good job in doing that. Their chemistry was there, and actually even the tension of her in her mind why she wasn't going for it, and I thought that they had a good job. It wasn't a very fake romantic comedy type of thing. It was genuinely like a very nice relationship that was being formed. Their chemistry wasn't like over the top, but it was very much there, and I actually think it was better that it wasn't over the top because relationships, especially with that young, tend to not be this like, oh, beautiful. Like it doesn't tend to be like that. It tends to be awkward and uncomfortable, and you're trying to think about what to do next. And they did that without making it too awkward where it made us uncomfortable to watch it. That's an interesting balance, and they did a good job with that. So acting, I give them kudos. Henry, I did dad. I think the ensemble cast did what they were supposed to do, and I think they added to the film. The part that I genuinely think this is a good film. I don't think it's an amazing film. I think it's a good film. The reason I don't think it's an amazing film is it had certain problems that were inherent to the ambition that it was going for. It's hard when you do something like a Groundhog Day. They basically use Groundhog Day as a plot device to allow for the framing of all this stuff. But it's hard as the viewer to not pay attention to the fact that they're Groundhog Day. Do you know? If you could do that as a viewer and separate yourself, then it's okay. It probably felt like like a beautiful story. But if you couldn't, and I don't think it's up to the viewer to have to do that. So I'm not going to say it's great because some people could and some people couldn't. That's okay. For some people that couldn't, it just is weird because they don't really explain what's going on. They don't explain what's happening. He even like tries to go and like find a singularity with his like teacher and like what's going on. And I think it's cool that they go in and tried something like when he tries to cross international date line, even though that doesn't make any sense why that would work. And why it fixed made even less sense. It's okay because it's just a story. So I don't think I'm like upset. I don't think I'm taking it too seriously. It was something that just like it's hard to deal with as a film because the viewer is often just solely thinking about that. If I were to really think about Groundhog Day, I'm sorry, but they handled Groundhog Day very, very well. If you get stuck in a day like that's repeating itself and you have no idea how it happened and you have no idea how to get out, you'll lose your mind very quickly. Like very quickly. And yes, they had each other and that helped. Them being able to them being able to find each other would also almost never happen. But maybe it happened very long because there was just so many days. You don't actually know how many days it was, but it was a lot of days. So maybe it was a long time and eventually they'd bump into each other. Fair. But how many days they really relived that moment, they would have gone insane. Like easily gone insane. I thought certain aspects of the way that it was utilized was cool. Him like learning his art talent so he actually gained something from it is really great. I think us finding out that it's her not being able to let go of her mom and this is like this step forward and it was very artistic was great. As a film goes, it was like artistically gorgeous. Not cinematography wise, gorgeous in terms of its storytelling. That's like a very artistic film. I would show that to somebody when they're ready going through like a grieving process. And I think it would be very helpful for them, for wherever they're at, maybe in their stage. It depends of their grieving process. But like I think it like had a lot of weight to it. Just as a film, it was like as a movie storyline, it was kind of weird. You know, a lot of things didn't make sense. It's hard because that wasn't the purpose of the film, but it does take you out of the film. Him making a map every single day. I'm sorry, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. That was so much work, and he did it daily, every morning. That would take hours to do. And if he's an amazing artist, yeah, maybe not. But like, it takes time, and it's just like, and you're going with the idea that he has it memorized that perfectly, and it's just built into his memory, which maybe it could, but maybe it couldn't be. And then when he's like actually taking her on the date and he's doing the space thing, which is really cute. It melts your heart. It's really nice. I actually really loved it. No, it's not believable. And I like that they called it out. How did you do this? Oh, I may have hired a bunch of kids. I'm sorry. It's just not even feasible that you would have gotten that done in that morning after drawing the map, because he takes her back and he drew that. So he draws the map, hires these kids that same day, and then builds that stuff to have the date with her. It's not plausible. It's not plausible. And I think a lot of times it's like, that's a lot of the things. And they call it out, but a lot of times it's just like they're in one day. You still can only do so much in one day. It's not like you can do it all because you have infinite of those days. You still only have the 24-hour period or the 12-hour period when you wake up, you know? And that was a little and it was kind of off-putting. Those were the parts that like it didn't work, and it was hard because it was because of how ambitious they were and of the goal. And I think they kind of just were like, what if we did Groundhog Day and like we told this beautiful story utilizing Groundhog Day as a message for somebody not being able to let go. That's what it was, and it was really good at that. Really good at that. And I've never seen a story told that way, and I've never seen a romantic film. I don't know if I consider it a rom-com, but maybe. I don't know what it would be called. But I've never seen a romantic film portrayed that way. A romantic film, coming-of-age story, but in the aspect of the reason Groundhog Day was utilized was for the purposes of her figuring out how to let go and how to properly mourn and how to process her feelings. And that aspect was really great. So artistically, I think the film was great. I think it was so good at what it did that I'm okay that this took it out of the plot. I wouldn't rate it poorly because of it. That's why I said I think it was a great film. I don't think it was a crazy amazing film. I think it was a great film. The reason I don't think it was a crazy amazing film is like, it started kind of going all over the place about what the purpose was, like grieving, them being together, a map of the little perfect things. I think they just kept bouncing. So even though it wasn't that long of a film, part of it felt a little dragged out to me because it just kept bouncing and it wasn't very cohesive. Still good though. I liked each part. The aspect of the film that I loved in terms of its message, and I think they should have actually done more with it, and instead they used it as a framing device for her to realize that the last perfect place was at the pool, the first kiss. That's cute, but I think it actually could have been more. They had the grieving process at the end of her letting go, but it should have been about all the beautiful things. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit of goosebumps. All the beautiful things that happen in any given day that we take for granted. That should have been the film. That should have been the entire film, in my opinion. And I would have thought it was like genius. I would have thought it was a masterpiece in terms of that. Would have been I wouldn't have cared it was a Groundhog Day. I wouldn't care that they never really answered or figure out how they're actually going to fix it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And the way she comes to the realization with the fourth dimension cube thing. The Iron Man, Tony Stark putting the little things in little places is actually from Iron Man 2, by the way. That's where they got that from. I wouldn't have minded that. I think it didn't have to be like hit in my face. I'm glad that they didn't just like shove it down my throat, but I think they could have focused on it a bit more. You know, the beautiful moments of like the card game with the couple, you know, the flowers in the circular motion, the bird getting into the water, like all those little beautiful things. Like, I think those should have been the focal point. And then it could have been about kids who like they fall for each other and there's that whole process. But it was about two kids who like take everything for granted because we always did as kids. Not knowing what to do as kids, trying to figure out like what's the point of it all. You know, like we're just like always trying to figure out like what's the point of it all. We're just supposed to be going towards the future, which they did. I love that whole he had to have the conversation with his dad over and over and over again. I love that. Like, why did this have to be on the day that my dad has like that talk with me? Just really genius. But they could have focused on that. Like somebody who doesn't want to, who's ungrateful for all those things and just thinking about the future, but then doesn't want to think about the future and just wants to be an artist and and instead finds beauty in like everything, and that we take for granted as a society, as a people, that like there's beauty in everything. There's beauty in what I'm doing right now. There's beauty in my parents downstairs, you know, watching a movie that I'm probably going to go watch with them soon, and the fact that we're all together during the quarantine and I'm not going to get that experience again. There's beauty in that, and us on Valentine's Day spending it together instead of me spending it with like a date. You know, there's like all these like small little beautiful moments that we just take for granted. And I think that was a really good message that I don't think they focused enough about, even though that was the title of the film. When you have somebody trying to stay not how they could have fixed the film, but where it could have actually been to make it a masterpiece, you know the film is pretty good then. So don't take that negatively. Take it actually as positively, that I think it had the potential to do that. And that's okay, because those are choices and they're subjective. My choice is not right or wrong. It's just, in my opinion, that's what I think could have been better. I'll flip that to you guys. What do you guys think of the film? Do you think it was like amazing as is? Do you agree with me that it should have been focusing more on those tiny perfect things? Do you like the relationships? Did you enjoy the chemistry? Let me know. If you guys have anything that you want me to go over, TV show, movie, leave it in the comment section. I'm making a list. And on that note, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.